ahead. Everyone, please take your seats. We're going to begin momentarily. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There was a delay here. People were like, wait, oh my God, I'm actually graduating. It's over. Let's try. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There, good. We're nice festive occasion that we have here. This is my third graduation, and so as dean, and I'm really feeling like I have the hang of it now. And so those other previous graduations, I feel sorry for those folk, but we're going to get this great. We're going to have a great graduation here today. Congratulations to the Columbia Journalism graduating class of 2023. So this is obviously a momentous occasion. It gives us great pride and joy to preside over this graduation and to wish you well as you go on and out into the world to pursue your careers in this field, which is so essential and so important, has never been more essential or more important than it is right now. About a year ago, when it was many of you in this very same room, when I gave a talk about who we are and what we do at Columbia Journalism School. And I mentioned that this is our 111th year in operation. You are the 111th graduating class of Columbia Journalism School. And what we have pursued diligently and consistently over that course of more than a century is the objectives that are engraved on the wall downstairs, to uphold the standards of journalism and the pursuit of excellence in the field of journalism. And so we are thrilled to welcome you into, in just a few minutes, the largest and most august body of journalists in the world, by my estimation, which is the alumni of Columbia Journalism School, which is 15,000 strong, spread all throughout the world, and engaging each day in the vital work of journalism and informing the public. Now, there is, as I say to each group at graduates, there is something that I refer to as the Columbia Extended Warranty Program. Which is that we are not going anywhere. The relationships that you built here remain, and the mentorship that you received here will continue. And in those points in time where you want to engage, or if you have questions, and believe it or not, sometimes when we have questions for you, we will be in touch, and that this relationship that you have with Columbia Journalism School has changed and evolved, but by no means does it end at this point. So I want to make sure that we are timely, and I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker, Corey Johnson, who is a journalist I have a great personal regard for and a great admiration for his work, and who was thought so highly of by the faculty that we invited him here to speak to you on the occasion of your graduation. Corey Johnson is an investigative reporter for ProPublica. Previously, he was at the Tampa Bay Times and led the project Poisoned, which revealed how Florida's only lead smelter endangered hundreds of workers and polluted the surrounding community. The investigation also won many of the nation's prestigious honors, including the Pulitzer Prize for Investigative Reporting, the Gerald Loeb Award, the IRE Gold Medal, just to name a few. Corey Johnson was a member of the inaugural team of the Marshall Project, a nonprofit newsroom focused on criminal justice. He is also a co-founder of the Ida B. Wells Society, which teaches investigative craft to aspiring and mid-career journalists of color. Born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, he is a proud graduate of Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida. Corey?
I promise you we didn't talk to coordinate our suits. I promise. I know y'all see the two black dudes and they say we conspired, but no, yes. So first of all, I just want to give thanks from the bottom of my heart to the legendary Dean Jelani Cobb, whose work I have fondly studied, read, and been inspired by for years. I want to give thanks to the wonderful event coordinator, Julie, who made sure that me and my mom knew exactly where we needed to go today. I want to thank the entire Columbia faculty and staff and all the deans who are here. Obviously, I got to give a great shout out to the class of 2023, who are all looking beautiful, sharp, vibrant. Man, like, real talk, it's a tremendous honor to be part of your victory celebration. And that's what it is, it's a victory celebration. Because we all know all of the things you had to overcome to get those assignments in on time, to get those grades so that you could show up today and get your piece of paper. This is a special day for a super special class, and so I am humbled to be able to share in it today. We also know that behind every great accomplishment, it takes a village. And so we know that you all have had people praying for you, sacrificing for you, cheerleading you when you were down. And I just want to take a special moment, if you don't mind. If there's any friends and family here today, would you all please stand so that the class of 23 and all of us can acknowledge you. Come on now. Come on now. Don't be ashamed. You put money on those books. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank my mom, who flew up from Georgia to be here today. This is our second time, in Pulitzer Hall, so to speak. Last October was the first, and I just want to, tell her how much I appreciate her for coming to support me. She said she wanted to bear witness to this moment. And I believe that, but I also know the truth. The truth is that she also wanted to be on the front row to kind of give me the evil eye. And in case, I got on this microphone and got ignorant and start saying stuff I probably shouldn't be saying. And so I want to make sure that I can go home in peace, in one piece. And so I'm going to be a good boy today. I'm going to be a good boy anyway because, I want you all to like me. I want you all to adopt me. So I too can take part in that wonderful student loan program that the brother set up here, because I need some liberation from the financial slavery myself, you know. And so since Clarence Thomas and them ain't gonna do it, Brother Jelani, like, please bring me home. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have not because we ask not. No, but seriously, it's kind of daunting to try to figure out the right things to say to you, because I'm sure you have heard it all from the best. Like, you literally have the best professors in the business, and I'm sure they have lectured you, cajoled you, challenged you plenty. So I doubt that anything I'm going to say up here today will be something that you hadn't heard previously. But, you know, I am going to speak from the heart, if you don't mind, and maybe offer some perspectives from my personal journey. And then, you know, then I'll step aside and cheer my head off as you all grab your diplomas and get ready to go to party. But let's step back for a second. Let's make no mistake about it. If we're being honest and we're being observant about what's going on around us, you know, it's clear that there's a war being waged for the soul of this nation. Both democracy and journalism are in crisis. They're both under attack, one could arguably say. Critical norms and values are being tossed aside. Institutions that many people depend upon, believe in, are crumbling or seem to be crumbling. Lies and false narratives are everywhere. And worst of all, many of the people that we pledge to serve are angry with us, seem like they don't get us. And yet, this is a wonderful time to be alive. This is probably one of the best times in modern history to be a journalist, especially a young journalist, right now. The barriers that used to exist that kept us from being able to be impactful have faded. Opportunities are everywhere to make a difference. People like you, even students like you, maybe a little younger, maybe not, you know, are doing work that is inspiring the nation. The demand for truth is like at an all-time high. And the reasons for this are many, and many people way smarter than me, you know, have looked at it, studied it, and they're debating it. And I think all of those reasons are valid. But today I'm going to suggest that the problems that we face stem from something far more foundational than just job cuts, far more maybe fundamental than just inaccurate stories. The great Martin Luther King once said, and I hate when people quote Martin Luther King, but this one seems appropriate. He once said that everyone can be great because everyone can serve. And journalism at its root, and I'm sure you've heard it ad nauseum. Journalism is a public service. Journalism is a public service. Public service, public service, service. And it is a public service at its root. But there is no public service without customer service. And today, fewer and fewer of our customers feel less connected to us than ever before. Great customer service in our business, what does it look like? It looks like showing up. It looks like going to see, to hear, to learn, to stand in the gap, and to fight when truth needs a champion. And yet, sadly, millions and millions of people in this country have never met a journalist. They've never personally interacted with a journalist. Many of them don't feel seen by us or by anyone. They don't feel heard by us. They certainly don't feel supported by us. I began to kind of discover this years ago. It wasn't as bad as it is right now, but I began to discover it on my very first job. Now, just to give you a little bit of detail, I won't go on and on, but just a little bit, you know, I'm probably the most unlikeliest person to be standing in front of you today. I didn't have the good sense to study journalism when I was in college. I discovered it after I graduated. I didn't know a clip from a good haircut. Had never worked an internship. I literally begged for a fellowship that ultimately got me into journalism. And I wanted to be, because I had this old beat up VHS tape from Blockbuster, movie of All the President's Men, which is the story of Watergate as told by the work of the two Washington Post reporters, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. I say that because a lot of people don't even know what the movie is. So I had that tape, and I was watching that tape like every day. And I wanted to be the next Woodward and Bernstein. I looked at them. They got a president to resign, and I wanted to get me a president to resign, and 5 governors and 2 mayors on top of that, right? And so I'm at my first job in a little paper in a small town in East North Carolina called Greenville, North Carolina. And again, I wanted to be the investigative reporter. Dun, 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 dun. And they just wanted a night cops reporter. Wah, wah. They put a scanner in my hand and said, your job is to listen to the scanner, and anytime there's a crash or a killing or whatever, you're supposed to go out and you write that up. And meanwhile, you go down to the police station. Every day you go down to the police station, the fire department, the sheriff's office, and you collect the reports. And you come in and you type those reports in. And on Saturday, you're going to be the only reporter in the building. So not only do you need to go to the fire department, the police department, the sheriff's office to get those reports, but if the mayor and them open a new strawberry patch, you need to go and you need to cover that. And you need to go call all the funeral homes to put the obits, get the obits, and you need to put that in the paper. So it's one person, I'm getting the obits and I'm getting the fire reports, and then if somebody got drunk and stabbed somebody, I got to run out and go get that, and I got to put all of that into the paper on a Saturday. Now, that's a lot. And I wanted to be an investigative reporter. So what that meant was my shift from 1 to 10, I had to do all of that. And then from 10 to about 3 in the morning, I'm doing my investigative reports. Because I don't want to get stuck in Greenville, North Carolina. So I got to do more than just write about the strawberry patch. So one Saturday at about 2:30 in the morning, I'm in a cold newsroom, and the phone rings at the editor's desk. And it rings about 10 times, and then it hangs up. I don't think anything of it. They call back. It rings 10 more times, and they hang up. So now I'm getting a little irritated, because I'm like, who the hell calling at 2, 3 in the morning? They call back. And then I walk over and I pick the phone up. And on the other end, there was this piercing voice. Now, I had to be honest to say that this wasn't the very first time I've been called a mother lover, but 678 times in a 2-minute span was different for me. This person was on one. I'm so sick and tired of you up there. Y'all do is cover up, and I'm just sick of it. And I'm going, ma'am, what's going on? Calm down, man. What's the problem? She says, you get up there, you're covering up, and I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. And I said, well, ma'am, I just got here. I'm new here. I'm not here to cover up anything. So she begins to tell me a story, and she gives me the name of an arrest that happened. Now, again, my job is to go pick up all the police reports, the fire reports, the sheriff's department report. I also pick up the jail reports. So as she's talking and she's fussing and cussing, I'm thumbing through the papers to try to see the name that she says that we are covering up. And I don't see it. I don't see it in any of the reports. And she just steady fussing. So I say to her, I said, look, I promise you, 1, I'm not going to cover it up. And 2, I am going to look into this. I don't know what's going on, but I promise you I'm going to look into it. Hung up, and I was disturbed. And it bothered me. It bothered me so much that I could barely sleep. Because, 1, she cussed me out and I ain't say nothing, right? So my little man ego was kicking in a bit. But on a deeper level, I heard something in her voice. There was a voice that said, don't you hear it? That's pain. And you know that sound before. I know that sound. That was the sound that I've heard many times in my own life and in the lives of others. That was the sound of an invisibility. That was the sound when something horrible has happened that you can't deal with, or it just took you by surprise, and you're reaching out to try to get somebody to help you with it, and people just kind of looking and shrugging their shoulders, and you reaching out for help, and it's almost like you're a ghost. They're reaching through you. And I didn't know what she was saying was true, but I knew that sound. That's a sound, unfortunately, a lot of people make in this country. And so on a Monday, which was my off day, I decided to go. Now, in North Carolina, I'm telling you all this for a reason. In North Carolina, police reports are not public, at least they weren't then. They weren't public. So I couldn't go to police because they didn't give me the report, and there was nothing that would require them to give me the report. But I had a secret weapon, and my secret weapon was at the courthouse. So at the courthouse, to protect the innocent, we're going to give her a different name, there was a nice, beautiful young lady, totally in love with her boyfriend, who made some awful fashion choices, and I never said anything about it. Her name was Wendy. And every day, and as I grabbed up a stack of papers, and I'm going and I'm meeting people, at the police department and sheriff's office. I go down to the court to give Wendy a paper. And then she tells me about Matt and all the wonderful things that Matt is doing. And then I just go, oh my God, you guys are so cute. And oh, what is this you have on today? Fuchsia and blue. Oh, this is the baddest outfit I ever seen, girl. Work it. So I go down to the court. Now, the reason I do that is because Wendy controls the search warrants and the search warrant affidavits, which were public under the law, but by custom in Greenville, North Carolina, they were not. So my paper wasn't going to fight to sue to get these records. But these records were absolutely critical. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of a search warrant affidavit, but before the police can come and seize property in an investigation, they have to swear to the judge the underlying facts. And so while I couldn't get the police report, I could, with the right buttering up, get the search warrant affidavits. So I go down to the court and I go, oh, Wendy, how you do? Oh my gosh, it's lime green today. Turn around. Oh, boy, I wish my daughter was here. I'm have her get some fat. So look. Why don't you, if you don't mind, go on back there and give me that search warrant box for a minute. Okay, Corey. So she grabs the box, gives it to me. And I thumb through, and I see the name that the woman gave me. Now, let me fast forward to tell you quickly what happened. On the night that this woman called, earlier that night, a man decided that he was going to get butt naked, wearing nothing but a thong, and then put on a cape. And he would then go next door or a few houses down and climb up the wall of this house, open up the window, and inside, it's a bedroom where a little girl is sleeping. He climbs into this window and he begins to rummage around in the bedroom, pulling through the drawers, grabbing up as many bras and panties that he can get his hands on. The little girl starts to scream. Her parents wake up and they rush into the room. This man then takes the handful of panties and underwear and he runs and he jumps outside the window like perv Spider-Man into the distance and flees. Apparently, this had been going on for months. And the community, which was a affluent community, had been begging the sheriffs and the deputies to investigate, to do something about it, and they wouldn't. But on this night, the night that I got that call, those parents were fed up and pulled almost like a vigilante move to go down and demand an investigation. The sheriff's office then went and they found the guy. He comes to the door. He doesn't have the black thong on that he had on previously. He's changed into a red one. The cops then asked him to stand aside and put on some clothes. And as he stands aside, they see nothing but garbage bags upon garbage bags stacked up to the ceiling. They open them up and there's nothing but young women's underwear all in these bags. So he gets arrested. Turns out that the young man, the Spider-Man perv, was the son of the most powerful, influential developer in the town. And the developer just so happened to be the biggest campaign contributor to the sheriff. So even though little Corey running around here grabbing the reports to try to stick them in the paper, when it got down to this one, they made sure that the reports were not accessible. But thanks to Wendy and the search warrant box and friendly conversation over weeks, I have the report. So I go right back to the newsroom on my off day, and I put in the first sentence the black thong, the second sentence the red thong, and I lay out the whole shebang about what this guy was doing. Now, it probably won't surprise you to know that that story did not win the Pulitzer Prize. All right. But in that community, that story hit like a nuclear bomb. And every day I went out, every day, if I went to the grocery store and people, and I had to show my ID or whatever, people said, Corey Johnson. And then they sung the song that was kind of popular at that time. Corey Johnson. Don, da, don, don, don. And everywhere I went, Corey Johnson, don, da, don, don, don. It would be big guys, don, da, don, don, don. Little women, don, da, don, don, don. Middle, don, da, don, don, don. It was the damnedest thing you'd ever want to see in your life. I go to the bank. This is back when you had to go to the bank to deposit your check. You had to go inside and stand in line. So I'm in line. I get to the front, and the teller goes, she looks, she says, Corey Johnson. Then she says, Gladys, look who's here. We got Corey Johnson in here. So then Gladys comes out. You, get in here. And I'm looking around. People are looking around. And I walk in. She says, you did that story about that a-hole with the thongs. And I said, yes, ma'am. And she says, we know him around here. She said, we like that journalism that you're doing over there. So she goes over to the computer and she types up my account. And y'all, my account was looking kind of janky. I had overdrafts up the wazoo. When robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they say. And she looked and she said, oh, you've been a naughty boy. And she looked through 3 years of overdraft fees and she refunded it all. She typed it and she said, go and send no more. And I walked out and I was like, don, 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 don. It meant something to them, and it meant something to me. From that moment on, I began to see what kind of journalist I needed to be, I wanted to be. I wasn't yet Woodward and Bernstein. Now, I wasn't Woodward and Bernstein. But people from all over the town came to me with their stories. Now, I must say the quiet part out loud. I was nervous. As you can tell, I have a beautiful natural tan. And the people in that town did not have a natural tan. They had to work on their tans every day. And I was from Atlanta, Georgia. They were from, and so they were people who their idea of barbecue was pink meat and vinegar and coleslaw on top. And so there was a lot of reasons for us not to be, seeing eye to eye. There's a lot of reasons for them to not want to talk to me. It's a lot of reasons because I was different. And yet, everybody in that town talked to me. The word went out that there was a fella down there at that paper, and he's all right. And so when I tell you I took over the town, and I say it humbly, I took over the town. I talked to everyone. I talked to not just the police and the detectives and the chiefs, but I talked to the drug dealers, the prostitutes, the hardened criminals, as well as the innocent. I talked to people at funerals. I talked to them in their basements. I talked to them in their attics. I talked to the garbage workers. I talked to the lawyers. I talked to the utility workers. I had sources so sensitive that I still can't talk about because they were everywhere. If there was anything I needed to know, I could call somebody anywhere and get it. If I wanted to know your utility bill, if I wanted to know your medical record, I could get it. Now, I'm not saying that to scare you or to brag. I'm saying about, the reason I'm saying that is about what it looks like when people connect with you. Even though I was different, they connected with me. And from that day to every job I've ever worked, it's been like that, where I get the privilege of getting behind closed doors to see what life really looks like in order to do my job. Right. And so I say that because I know that some of you may wonder as you're getting ready to embark into this next version of your life. You may wonder about your difference. You may wonder about whether you have everything you need in order to be great in this job. I was not the best writer. I was not the most accomplished, but my heart was pure and I was willing to show up for folks. And it's the showing up that people need the most. I think we need to reframe what victory looks like in our careers. Victory is not the awards that we win, even though awards are great. Victory is not how many times we can get on the front page or our story can be viral on Twitter. That stuff is great too. But victory literally is about showing up in people's lives, whether they talk to us or not. Whether you knock on that door and they decide not to answer, that's still a victory, because in that moment you have said that your life matters to me. It matters so much to me that I'm going to get on the train, I'm going to get on the car, I'm going to spend time and money, gas, or whatever to hear what you have to say. And when you do that, that's the thing that Americans crave, that Americans and others across the world need from us, that they feel missing from us. Showing up, unfortunately, I hate to say it, and I know this might sound like old man in the cloud, barking at the cloud talk, but showing up is not a mass email. It's not a text message thread out the blue. People have to see you. They have to smell you. They have to feel you. They have to, it happens eyeball to eyeball, heart to heart. Now, I know that's not practical all the time, and I'm not anti-technology, but I'm saying that as you embark in the next phase, the majority of your year, the majority of your interactions with people need to be where they can actually feel you. Not all, but the majority. If 70, 80% of your conversations is text message or emails, I would suggest that you're doing it wrong. Even though you might be getting stories or you might be You know, I know we're data folks and documentary folks, and I know some of the data people are like, man, look, I deal with script. You know, I'm dealing with SQL, I'm dealing with pivot tables. You know, I don't need to be, you know, all out there in these streets like that. And I know my documentary folks are saying, look, you know, I'm already in these folks' houses. I'm doing Verity, and I'm getting good angles. So, you know, Dean Cobb, you know, what the hell you brought this man here talking this stuff for? This, even though you're doing that, you are fundamentally a storyteller that uses data, a storyteller that uses images, video, sound. And this is an all hands on deck moment about connection. And it matters not that you have a great database if nobody ever clicks on it. It matters not if you have a wonderful, which I'm sure you will have, a wonderful film if nobody ever goes to look at it. And so what I'm petitioning you is to think about how to show up and how that looks like for you in the next wave going forward. Now, in closing, I'm gonna tell you one more story because it's the reason why. So I won the Pulitzer Prize last year for a series of stories exposing a lead smelter that was in our local community that had been secretly for years poisoning its own workers. And many of those workers had some real hardcore health challenges. Many of them had strokes, heart attacks, kidney damage. Some of them took the lead home inadvertently and poisoned their kids. This was extremely hard reporting to do. All of this work was secret. It was not known. And as I was talking to folks, people kept telling me I needed to find this man named Anil. And no one had his number. No one knew his address, but they just kept urging me to go find Anil. It took me about 4 months. Every door I knocked on was the wrong door. Every phone number I had was the wrong number. I ended up having to find a cousin of a cousin who then got me to a daughter, who then got me to Anil. And Anil had a very powerful story that rests on my heart even today. Anil was an immigrant who had fled Haiti at the point of a gun, actually, to come to America. He was not educated. He could barely read or write. He moved to Tampa once he got to the States and eventually started working at the lead smelter. Now, this lead smelter takes car batteries that die in your car, and you eventually take them to AutoZone or whatever to get rid of them. And they end up at a place like the lead factory. And they split the battery apart to open up and to get to the lead. And then they recycle it and create new lead products. In the part that Anil worked, he worked in the section of the plant called the refinery. And their job was to take the lead that came out of the furnace and then use special chemicals to customize it for the people who want it, right? And different people wanted different types of lead. Anil, because this is what the company did, would handle a big bag of arsenic. Arsenic causes cancer. It's cancer causing. He would get a big trash bag of it and carry it over into this cauldron where the lead was smoldering. And his job was to reach over and dump the arsenic into this oven type. Well, when he dumped it, it would blow up in his face, and it would blow up in all the men's face who were around it. Company had given them respirators and told them that the respirators protected them. We found that the levels that they were exposed to were hundreds of times higher than what those respirators could protect against. The law required these men to get regular testing from the doctor to ensure that they weren't getting exposed. Anil had tests where his levels of the cancer-causing substances were clearly damaging proteins in his body that under the law required him to get like immediate retesting and removal from work. The doctor never did that. In fact, the doctor looked at those lab reports and then wrote that none of that stuff was clinically material and signed these guys back to work, including Anil. So when I finally met him, Anil's body was collapsing. He had so much bacteria in his heart that the medical doctors wrote that he had weeds suffocating the valves in his heart. Weeds. His prostate was badly damaged. He had prostate cancer. He had a rare blood cancer. And he had gone to many funerals of his fellow workers. So he was depressed. He had been begging his daughters to get him a lawyer or get him to the media, but no one around him believed that his story. So when I met him and I told him who I was, he started to cry. And we spent a full day driving to every one of his doctors to get his medical records. And when I went to drop him off, he just broke down in tears. He was so thankful that finally someone had showed up. The story did great things in the community. It got the government to finally come over there, and they did an investigation and they fined the plant close to $1 million. Wall Street called me, like rating agencies, people who loaned this plant money. They called me like, so how many more stories are you all gonna do? And I, tried to scare them. Whoa, we got 1 million more stories. We're gonna be writing on this for the next 4 or 5 years, and then we're gonna go to Vermont and Idaho and anywhere there's we do. Yeah! The local health department tested the community around the plant for lead. The rating agencies downgraded the company's credit worthiness to force them financially to do better. Lawyers came out the yin yang, and there's about 5 or 6 different law firms who have suits that's going on right now. And then the government changed how they test. So the government changed their way of doing it to be able to catch them, and they immediately begin to catch them falsifying stuff. So there's about $15 million of improvements that the plant is doing right now in order to make things safer, and there's more on the way. So on the one hand, is everything you would hope for a story to accomplish. But sad to say, it wasn't good news for Anil. Right before his story was to publish, we were going to interview him one more time, and then a storm came through, and so we had to cancel and reschedule. And that night, maybe 50 or 60 yards away from his apartment, he was in a terrible car accident and killed. So he never saw the story that he had been hoping that somebody would capture for him. And that's a thing that sits with me as I think about journalism and what we must do. I think about Anil. I think about all the women in the Me Too story that didn't get the justice before the New York Times showed up. I think about all the people in the men who had been sexually abused by priests that didn't get the justice until the Boston Globe finally showed up. And obviously, I think about all the people who were shot down by crooked police officers that didn't get the justice until people started to wake up around George Floyd and other videos that did for America what journalism often failed to do, which was to interrogate and investigate the police's version of the story. And so, in close, as we sit here and you grab these certificates and you think about all the various ways that you're going to do awesome work, and I know that you will. You have no choice. You got people in this room that's going to kick your behind if you don't do great work. But I also want us to think about connection and getting out there so that we can hear the stories that's not being told. That the task ahead of us is not just to cover the news, but to uncover the news. And however way we do it, however way you choose. So with that Debbie Downer of a message, congratulations, class of 2023, for everything you've done, everything you're gonna do.
Thank you for that. That is everything at the heart of your work is at the heart of what we should be doing as journalists. So now we are at the moment that you've been waiting for, and I'm eager to welcome Dean John Haskins up to the stage, and we will proceed with the handing out of degrees.
So remember I said when we first met that it was up to you to pronounce your name correctly, repeatedly, to my face. So if I get this wrong, it's on you. So first, I would like to welcome to the stage Professor Drumel Mehta and Jonathan Soma to present the diploma envelopes to our Master of Science in Data Journalism students. Now, we have a small class, so you can take your time. We want to be able to see you all. We want all of your friends and family to have a second to take a picture, so you have a minute. So, first up, from Bangalore, India, Pooja Chaudhary. From Copenhagen, Denmark, Laura Bider Jensen. From Seoul, South Korea, Minju Kim. From Fort Lee, New Jersey, Hongyu Liu. From Kingston, Massachusetts, Jake Neenan. From New York, Ivy Nyeka. From Pune, India, Vivek Patil. From New Delhi, India, Ahan Penkar. From Singapore, Rachel Pua. From Helsinki, Finland, Johanna Rossi. From Pune, India, Shalaka Shinde. From Suzhou, China, Xinyi Tu. From Dublin, Ireland, Kelly Waldron. From Shanxi, China, Sen Mu Eva Wen. You switched it. From Jacksonville, Florida, Megan Wordle. Wordell. From Jiaxing, China, Yang Xiong. Okay. Oh, now we will have present our Master of Science candidates, Professor Nina Alvarez. Careful now. From Brooklyn, New York, Jordan Albrooks. Now, if we could welcome to the stage Dean Winnie O'Kelly, who will present the next 2 Master of Science degrees. From Totowa, New Jersey, Lauren Sanyela. From Houston, Texas, Aram Salam. Now, if we could welcome to the stage Professors June Cross and Thor Newrider to present the diploma envelopes to our Masters of Science candidates in the documentary program. Ready to go? From New York, New York, Ava Anderson. From Chandigarh, China, Twesha Dikshit. From Warsaw, Poland, Ania Gruszenska. From Chengdu, China, Bebe Liu. From San Antonio, Texas, Daniel Mendez. From East Meadow, New York, Nathan Siegelaub. And from Sao Paulo, Brazil, Mayara Teixeira.
Congratulations again to our graduates. And so there's one other part of this, which is kind of like an unofficial tradition, which is that we need to record this for posterity, so we can get in here for this selfie. Y'all crowd in here. Okay?
Oh, wait a minute. Got a few more.
Okay. Congratulations again, and there is a reception following, which will be in the World Room just across the hall. And so, congratulations to everyone, and we'll see you down the hall.